Assalamu alaikum and welcome to What's the Story? I'm your host Sharif Islam, where we discuss people and politics from across the UK. Now, what's been happening in the recent election and what is the story? We know that Labour has won. Keir Starmer, with a landslide, has become the Prime Minister. But how did it all come to being? I, amongst most, was very on the edge of anticipation. But has the results turned out to be what we anticipated? Let's take a look. So, Labour won 411 seats. That's an increase of 209 seats from their total in 2019. The Conservatives, on the other hand, won only 121 seats, down a whooping 244 seats from the 2019 total of 365. Lib Dems gained 61, while Scottish National lost 39, winning only 9 seats. Others, such as Reform, won 5 seats with more than 4 million votes, mostly in Conservative-held constituencies. Now, that's a big dent to the Tories. And Green Party for England and Wales won 4 seats. So what does this all mean, and how does this affect the locals? Now, I've got with me two young individuals who have been very active on the campaigning. Two from both from the same constituency. However, like I said, they've been campaigning for two different individuals. So I've got Nasir Uddin. His profession is finance professional, and he was supporting Omar Farouk. And I've got Rashid Ahmed, who's a youth worker and also a healthcare worker. We'll be speaking about that a bit more because I'm very interested in healthcare work. And he backed Halima Khan. Welcome to the show, guys. Right, so Nasiruddin, right, how you been? Good, and welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum, bhai. Nice to meet you, and thank you for inviting me to your show.
Fantastic, right. So I understand you backed Omar Farouk. What was the situation with the campaigning? And we heard a lot of controversies with regards to Omar Farouk. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so this is true. So I was a former resident of Camden, so I've actually been backing two candidates, Andrew Finstein and Omar Farouk. Yep. So recently I've moved to Stratford and Bow. So reason why I picked Omar Farouk, I think he appealed to me from a professional point of view. He's been a barrister for 20 years. He worked in high-profile cases like Stephen Lawrence case. And there was a bit of, I think you can say, a bit of connecting, you can say. So, you know, I've only had a couple of weeks to decide, and I decided to back him. So that was what it was in short, really.
Okay, well, you know what, we're here today to mostly speak about the independent candidates. Obviously, we've seen the scenario of how everything took place with Labour going through. However, you mentioned Andrew Finstein. He actually, from that constituency, he took quite a lot of votes from him, didn't he?
Yeah, so Andrew Finstein, he stood in Holborn and St Pancras, my former ward, constituency, and he was obviously head of the Labour leader, going against the Labour leader, which had a 36,000 majority. And this was really not because of him. This was built on the foundations of a former MP who was Frank Dobson. And he was the MP for many years in that borough, in that constituency. Yeah. And so he took over. And, you know, yes, he did win. But however, he won by almost 20,000 less votes.
I don't think Keir Starmer was very happy with the results when he saw that most of the votes, or nearly more than half of the votes, were taken from himself. And that was Andrew Finstein, independent candidate. Yes. What's the reason for that, you think?
I mean, well, one of the, you know, let's address the elephant in the room, which is the Gaza, the Gaza situation, which is clear-cut genocide, as identified the International Criminal Court. You know, they've obviously investigating on that, and for political reasons, their decisions have been sort of somewhat wavering. But for the layman and woman, let's not discriminate here. For most of us on the ground who live real lives, we can clearly see this is a genocide. They've been killing men, women, and children. They've been bombing masajids, hospitals, schools, been
So
relentless.
that was the reason for these independent, and this was one of the slogans, wasn't it? Free for Palestine and standing up for Palestine, amongst the local issues of schooling and housing and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I do believe this was the case, except apart from one candidate, which was the Labour candidate, every single other person that stood in Stratford and Bow stood with that. Or that was one of the objectives. They were against the war that's taking place. Well, can we even say a war? It's not. It's you know, it's civilians against their organized military power.
Okay, we'll come to that in a second. Now, Rashid Ahmed, right? You are a youth worker and also a health worker. So tell me a little bit about your background in those. I mean, obviously you're a youth worker. You've helped a lot of people in the community, especially the youngsters. Tell me a little bit about that, and then you can come on to your situation with the campaign.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair for having me here. In terms of my background, I've been quite active since a young boy in my locality for various reasons. Hamlets, as everyone knows, is a very deprived area. There's a lot of problems and that have never been really dealt with. If anything, there's been type of like cosmetic coverings, if you like, yes. But within homes, the problems still remain. So yeah, I've been involved in my community in different capacities. So yes, I'm a trained youth worker. I've worked for the local borough in Tower Hamlets and Redbridge and in other areas. I work for different types of youth community organisations.
We know someone like yourself who's involved in community work, community cohesion, stuff like that. Someone like yourself is always somewhere or another end up in local politics or even in a bigger picture, which you have done now, and which is a good thing, because when you're in it, then you can actually change things, right?
Well, that's a bit of a, I don't know whether to agree or disagree with that statement.
It's up to you.
It's a very, very dark place for me, politics, yeah, for various reasons. When I was at college, New Labour decided to invade Iraq. The whole borough mobilised together to protest against it. It was an illegal war. So from that point, the whole community was very much in a state of despair, because it was a massive crime. Till this day, the perpetrators of this war still walk free. Yet the ordinary man who might commit a small crime is never given the same privilege.
So you looking at all that at that time wanted you to sort of wanted to go into politics or understand politics, because like yourself, me as well, I've never been interested in politics. However, sometimes we find ourselves in that situation that we can't really avoid, and we have, because it affects us, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I'm not a politician. Politics has a place in my life, not in my heart, but in my life. What I mean by that is
you can't avoid it.
No, you can't avoid it, because every decision that's made in certain institutions affects me, and not just me. It's not just about me. I'm not a me person. I'm an us person, right? So when I say that, I mean when I was at college and Iraq was invaded, consequently towards that, I was approaching university. When I got to university, I was one of the fortunate human beings in this country that was receiving the last free university education. And after that, under New Labour, they decided to introduce fees. Now that in itself, I find it's actually very discriminative, because not everyone in my borough could afford a university education. And if we're talking about current prices for individual years, you're talking about close to £10,000, £9,500 from what I've heard. So what's the chances of people getting a education from my area, if you like? Yeah. So politics is it can be a good or bad thing, but it depends on who you choose to represent you. Or
we can't deny that we need politics, and we need people representing us, representing the borough, the country, and so forth. Whether we get good people or not, that's a different story. Now, let's get back to the scenario here with regards to the recent election, and we know that it's been an unprecedented time in terms of independent candidates winning seats. right? Jeremy Corbyn, we know, is one of them. And then we had Shaukat Adam. Let me just say Jeremy Corbyn was from Islington North. Shaukat Adam, Leicester South. And then Iqbal Hussain, Mohammed Dewsbury and Butley. Yeah. Adnan Hussain from Blackburn and Ayub Khan, Birmingham, Perry and Bar, is it? Yeah. So, I mean, these guys undoubtedly won the seats because of the current situation, what's happening. And it's close to our hearts. As you know, Muslims, we don't want to go into that too much, but this, you cannot deny that this is the reason that they have won. What about the candidates that have come very, very close? People such as Lian Mohammed, who only lost by 521 votes. Then we had lost in Birmingham and Yardley, that's John McIntyre. And then Ajmal Masroor, who I want to speak about. And then you got Muhammad Islam and James Giles. Is that right? Yeah. And they actually won by lost by very, very few votes, isn't it? Now, let me come to Nasir again. And you were mentioning Omar Farouk, right? That you backed. He was up against what? How many other candidates were there? About 5 or 6? But the main players were only two, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So initially,
tell us. Let me just cut you there. Tell us how it unfolded from Omar Farouk being in the charge in terms of the Tower Hamlets coalition group. They actually supported him in the beginning. Why did they back up?
Yeah. So I'll start with the latter question first, which was how many candidates there were. So there were initially 10 candidates. So it's a case of, too many chiefs, not enough Indians scenario, right? So, in truth, there was the people in power, if you like, the incumbent coming in government. Yeah. The Tories were so bad that everyone was going to vote for Labour. And this in itself, I think, deserves a show, which is the two-cycle the two-party, cycle. Every few years we're going to have Labour and then switch back to Conservative and then switch back to Labour and switch back to Conservative. And no one is seeing this pattern. No one is willing to do anything about it. So this is why I'm going for independent. This is one of my motives. But in terms of...
Then the mainstream parties were not giving you anything, were they? Especially in terms of what your objectives were in this current time.
Yeah, and right now the public opinion, whether the politicians and the established want to admit it or not, is the Gaza war, is the Gaza genocide. I think of the non-Muslims, almost 78% are for a ceasefire. Muslims, 78% are for the ceasefire. Of the non-Muslims, I think it's something like 58% for the ceasefire. So there's a clear number here of people who are willing and going for the ceasefire. Because look, we can see the images are raw for our eyes to see. There's a guy, I seen this image of a man carrying his baby kids in plastic bags. You can see arms and legs.
We've seen images and it doesn't make us, at all happy. In fact, it breaks our hearts. Now, but we also know why, the mainstream politicians, they are not backing the ceasefire. We know that. We're not going to get into that. However, you're campaigning for Omar Farouk. Let's talk about him a little bit.
So in terms of Omar Farouk, so as I said, I've only been there 8 months in the area. I've only got to know the man, literally one thing, and I thought, look, I've got to do something. It's the need. You see what's happening on TV. You have to act. You can't be passive in this. You can no longer be, I'm just going to sit on the fence and see which way the wind blows. No. If it blows this way, I'm going to go this way. You're
an activist. I mean, I didn't mention that earlier on. You've been an activist for a long time. So it doesn't matter if you've been in the area for 1 month or 8 months. Wherever you go, Nasir being Nasiruddin, you will get involved in any activity. And especially when it's to do with making changes, you definitely be involved. And that's from what I've read your... How did it turn out, though, when you realized or when you found out that he is not the man anymore?
No, I mean, the thing is, I still believe he is the man. So let me clarify what the issues are. So in terms of being an activist, that's a loaded word, but I like to get involved, I think.
That's an activist.
So in terms of... as I said, there was so many people. You had Fiona Lally. Yes, in one sense, she roasted Suella Braverman. Great. But in terms of Communist Party, I can't see, as a Muslim, I cannot vote for the communists. Because ultimately, when communism come to power, they're against Islam. So how can I vote for you? You know, communism destroyed 2 Muslim countries from just, you know, just now, I didn't even look this up, right? Afghanistan and Albania. Look at the state of these people. So she was out. Then we had Halima Khan, which I could have gone for, right? But, you know, at the same time, in politics, they say you have to go above your norm, above your standard. You have to overlook certain things. I'm a family man. My wife wears hijab. I promote the hijab with my daughters. And all of a sudden, I'm promoting non-hijabi. So this is like a personal issue at the same time.
Well, Rashid Ahmed will have something else to say about that in a little while.
I'm sure he will.
Carry on.
But at the same time, you know, like I said, in politics, we have to look beyond that. You know, we have, and we do. We have to be mature in politics, as I said. But as I said, I connected with Omar Farouk because I met the man, and I thought, okay, you know, he's a professional person like me. And I looked at some of his policies. Let's admit it, they're all on a pro-Gaza ticket, so we can't really distinguish between them there. Then it's just, when it comes to policies, they're all about, you know, how they're going to save the NHS, how they're going to give you better housing.
Yeah, but we've got to look at those issues as well, isn't it? I mean, because locally, this is what affects us, even though, and, you know, I respect what you said, and I am with you in terms of, or in the matter of, you know, what's happening in Palestine and everything. But we can only make some change. We've got to be part of the picture. We definitely got to be part of the picture. Let me just go to Rashid Khan now. Now, Halima Khan? Sorry, Rashid Ahmed. My mistake. See, I'm mixing both of you because you backed us so much. Halima Khan, she's a, you know, a feisty woman, isn't she? I mean, she, for the young people out there, she's a bit of a bad lady, isn't she? Bad girl, if you like. Maybe I shouldn't be using this word, but she came out to be, what's up, my people, and I'm here standing for you and all that. What'd you say about that? And in contrast to what Nasir was mentioning as well.
She's a Bengal tiger, bro.
She's definitely a Bengal tiger. But what she is, she's got character. She's very courageous. And if anything, that when I was making my decision in terms of who I'm going to be backing, it wasn't on the basis of her demeanor in some sense, yeah, because everyone can put on a show. So my measurements were slightly different, and what she was bringing to the table, I don't think anyone within that constituency was bringing. The two being, first, she was featured in the Al Jazeera Labour Files, right? So there you learn about one thing, is that she put her bread on the line, yeah, in order to bring some darkness to light, right? Yeah, so this isn't a light matter. This is a very. I want to know that how many people in this country will put their bread on the table in order to benefit the society, right? That's the first one. Second one being that after that she was in Palestine, yeah. So she was there. She lived with the people. She experienced the whole blowback of October the 7th, yeah. And just for the sake of discussing this point, is that October the 7th isn't where the story begins, yeah? I just wanted to put that on record, yeah? So I just want to put that for the audience, because there's a lot of stories being shared which isn't always true. Anyway, moving on, so she came with these two credentials, and for me, you can choose either one. You tell me who can compete with either of these credentials. I don't think anyone can. So that was my decision for backing her. Although that we had Omar Farouk and so forth, yeah, Omar Farouk Bay, yeah, who was standing amongst other brothers, yeah, I couldn't back them because they can't bring anything like that. Yes, she's a sister. Yes, she's not wearing a hijab. But then we've got sisters wearing hijab. I don't even know if they're sisters, but you've got women wearing hijab, right? And they are, from an Islamic viewpoint, they are, if anything, a liability. So for me, without having to mention names, but everyone knows who they are, to me, they're not worthy of my backing. In fact, I couldn't find a decent word to say about these people because I feel that they are more of a harm than a benefit. So from that, it doesn't work with me for someone to say and point a finger and say that, oh, this sister isn't wearing a hijab.
So you're not mentioning any names, and we don't want to mention any names now. I mean, do you think they have good enough reason, or are these reasons not, justifiable in terms of them coming forward and speaking about Gaza?
Let me put it to you like this: yeah? Everyone's jumping on Palestine. Yeah. Everyone, right? But for her, she was there with the people. So you got to test that, right? And if you can't test that, then be quiet, right? That's number one. Number two, in terms of where Halima is coming from, yeah, I spent just over 12 days, yeah, supporting the sister. Her team was a very, very small team, and it was a team that worked extremely hard. So when you look at the numbers at the end, you find that she came number 3, right? So she had no support other than the team that she had. So when you got to be fair, you got to be fair. You can't just say, oh, so and so. No, she beat everyone except Labour, right? And she couldn't beat Greenpeace. And in my opinion, or my understanding, Greenpeace votes. Green Party, they're all pieced the same.
Green Party.
Don't want to save the trees, yeah, right? So what I'm saying is that the votes that the Green Party got were protest votes. I think we got enough trees, yeah, but we got to save the Amazon, yeah. But what I'm getting at is that she done extremely well. A 12-day run, she beat all independents, major parties, including the Tories, and fibbed them, yeah, right? And that's her outcome, yeah, right, yeah. Right, anyway, so moving forward,
Just to make it clear for the, we don't want to get any new parties in there.
No, leave them, yeah, leave them, yeah. So she done extremely well. That was her outcome. She didn't win, but she made a tremendous impression. Now, just to go into the realms of, making characteristic judgments and what's apparent, for someone to cover up is a matter between them and Allah, although it's a commandment from Allah for someone to cover up. It's a commandment, yeah? So they will be the one to answer to Allah for that. But then we've got a lot of people who, from an apparent position, they seem really good, but everyone's got skeletons in the closet, yeah? But what she was standing for throughout the campaign was legitimate.
You've mentioned very good reasons, in contrast from what Nasir was saying. Now, what would you say to that? Because both in the same constituency, and then we got you who actually backed Omar Farouk. Rashid has mentioned a few very good reasons, I think, why he backed, especially the fact that she was with the people of Philistine and she's seen the ins and outs. Omar Farouk is a lawyer, a solicitor?
Yeah, he's a barrister.
He's a barrister, right, from his background. But he, from what we've seen a lot of controversies, obviously, and and in this time, a lot of these news do come out, whether they're real or fake. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Now, did he change his objective along the line anywhere, do you think? Because why did the Tower Hamlets coalition stop supporting him?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to clarify something about the hijab. Look, I was just making a point that this is one of our values as Muslims, as this is one of my values, this is one of my values, and it's very important. I also said that it's very important we have to be mature in politics. So I'm not going to not vote for someone for not wearing hijab. So I just want to get that out there. So in terms of credibility, in terms of, so first of all, Omar Farouk, 27 years barrister. He's worked in Stephen Lawrence's case, as I said, under Michael Mansfield QC. In terms of, I had a one-to-one time with him when we were both canvassing. Look, I could have went with Halima Khan, I could have went for anyone. It's just, this happens to be there and there on that day, and I thought, let me commit. In terms of the allegations, I did ask him about these things. So I'm not his spokesperson. I'm here on my own capacity. So
I actually saw a small video that you made, although it didn't finish, but we didn't get to the gist of that. So what did he say?
So I did make an interview for this to publish, but he advised me against it because he's got some other issues he wants to deal with, but that's up to him in terms of legality and so on.
Okay.
So in terms of the Tower Hamlets Community Coalition, no one knows who they are, first of all. I've done some of my own research. I don't know who they are. I asked in a group with 131 brothers who are based in Tower Hamlets. They don't know who they are. If maybe one or two know the individual's name.
No, we know who the Tower Hamlets Coalition. You probably didn't go to the right sources.
So
they are a body.
Who? How many of them are there? Who's the organization?
Who support people like Lutfur Rahman? Who support people like Ajmal Masroor?
So are they a group of body
They're a group of body.
In terms of different organizations, or are they individuals?
No, different organizations.
Okay.
They represent different organizations, but they have come together.
Okay. Okay, fine.
But I'm not going to mention any names,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
we can't say that we don't know who they are. You may not know who they are. But
I don't know who they are. But anyway, so in terms of their progress of selecting an individual and deselecting an individual, we don't know that process. Okay. Maybe you know, maybe your viewers know. Please let me know, because I don't. Nor does Omar Farouk when I asked him. He said, I don't know in what categories they endorse me, and I don't know in what categories they de-endorse, if that is a word, but anyway, de-endorsed. And then so there is that. Then there are certain allegations and smears, and naturally, like all political, events, these things naturally happen. One of the things that he's been accused of by a fellow lawyer or solicitor, Brother Akunji, is that he endorsed him. He's like, no, that's not what I said. What I said was, I asked you from this list.
Allegations were wrong. We've seen the videos of Akunji.
Yeah, so he said, look, from this list, who do you think is the most qualified?
Or effective.
Who's the most effective? And he said, you are, because of qualification, same, they're from the same field and all this kind of stuff, meaning the legal field and all this kind of stuff. Then
he denied that. Akunji denied that.
And I'm sure they'll bat it out. I mean, they're solicitors, lawyers, let them do what they need to do. But in terms of, I'm just here to clarify what I heard and what I've seen and what I've, got. So this is what he's saying. Then there was a second allegation that he suggested that Halima Khan was uneducated and whatnot. And he's like, that's ridiculous. These are his words. That's ridiculous. I would never say this. Rather, I said...
This was the accusation that he mentioned, that, he was using, or basically he was saying that this organization has endorsed me, this person endorsed me, and they denied it entirely. And this is
No, he didn't say endorse. He said reference. So allow me to explain if you can. So what he said about Halima, first of all, is that that from this list, who do you think is the most qualified? If I have a problem with my car engine, I'm not going to go to a dentist, am I? I'm going to go to a mechanic. So naturally, in this scenario, who's the most qualified? Who's the legal person? Who's going to be dealing with all of that?
I understand.
So from
but what about negative campaigning in terms of
I've not witnessed any negative campaigning from him.
He did say, and this was out to us, that he made some derogatory comments, or not derogatory, that with regards to Halima Khan, that she's not good enough. Yeah.
He said, look, who's the most qualified? And in his opinion, I am, because 27 years, law degree and all this kind of stuff and all this stuff. So be it. But from his point of view, this is a man that I've witnessed that he'd allowed no smear from his team, no bogus videos to be made about anyone. He said, look, we're going to run a clean campaign. If you like me, vote for me. If you don't like me, no problem. Vote for somebody else.
I've seen some of the videos.
As I was canvassing with him, we were going to different businesses. Yeah. And naturally, in the high street, you find these betting shops. He said, I'm not going to go in there. I said, why not? They're your voters. It's like, as I said, it's like a different level of maturity you need, unfortunately, when you want to get into politics, right? He said, no, that's not about me. That's not what I'm about. So he refused to go there.
So it's against his etiquette.
He's against his values. So for that, you can argue either way. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. The other thing is...
Looking at it from one perspective, Nasiruddin, let me just mention, because the people in the community don't look at it from one point of view, and also they're not from one community. They're from different sects, different religions, different understandings. So everything that you mentioned, you're mentioning that he's from a Muslim background. He's not going into betting shops and all that. What about the rest of the people? Because he's got to approach everyone, right?
Okay, so let's look at this. Let's look at this, and then we'll go into it hopefully with a bit of time. So when we're talking about betting shops, what are betting shops? It's a form of a habit in which betting system, the computerized AI system, the mechanism that takes place in these betting machines, they are against you. They do not discriminate. You could be an atheist, whoever goes in there, The aim of this, the betting shops, is to make money. Betting has been a source of ill in society. You don't have to be Muslim to recognize that. It's caused divorces, it's caused breakdowns, all sorts of illness in society. But going back to the thing, that he's a person, his broader policies were like everybody else: NHS, housing. He was big on crime, being a person of his backgrounds, barrister and so on. So he wanted to look at all these issues as well. I agree with Rashid, where everyone's waving the Gaza boat, if you want to call it, or the Gaza caravan, right? Everyone's doing it. Anyone who's anyone, whether they believe it or not.
Politicians, right? They make it attractive in the beginning.
Yeah, and
but when they win, the story seems to change. So we have to analyze every single candidate. And that's what we're doing right now. That's you've given good reasons. Rashid has given good reasons.
But in terms of him, he's been to Gaza in 1999, funny enough. And he's met the people of Gaza, the main players there. And, he's even named his son, one of his sons, Yasin. So, without going into too much detail, right? So he's been to Gaza, he's met the people, he's seen it. So this is not new for him. This is not new for Halima. We both agree.
So you don't agree with the fact that all the accusations that were brought against him in terms of endorsement, where he was not endorsed, and then the accusations against Halima or any other candidate, that's negative campaigning, isn't it? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so what I'm about evidence. I'm about give me the proof. So it's not like I'm going to back Omar Farouk for the rest of my life. No. If I see evidence against him, I'll drop him now. Okay. You see, I'll support somebody else tomorrow. Like you said, I'm an activist, right? This is what we do. But at the same time, I'm not going to go with the whole fanboys and everything else. Or everyone's going on this truck, let's all jump on. No, it's about what's good for me, what's good on my interests and my family's interests first and foremost, and what's good for my community.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, well, just for the viewers, you heard some strong views from both the brothers here, and they've got very good reasons why they backed each of the candidates. Now, from a local perspective, we've seen the candidates that have actually lost, especially in Stepney Green and the Bethnal Green and Stepney. Then you got Stratford and Bow and some other constituencies. I want to speak to you, and I want to see how you look at it from their view. And going back to you guys with regards to Ajmal Masroor, and I did say I want to mention and speak about him a little bit. He actually made a very big difference, 1,689 votes. Do you know how many total votes there were in that constituency itself, where Rushnara Ali has won, and she was the previous MP as well. Now, what do you think about that?
I think in terms of Ajmal Masroor Bhai, the thing is, we don't know what to call him. He's an imam, he's a khatib, he's a brother, he's everything, right? But look, let's admit, there is a person who supports a party, Labour Party.
Now, you did mention that he was, from what you said before, he was the most effective candidate.
I don't think so. With all due respect to Brother Akunji, he's done a fantastic job representing Shamima Begum. Fantastic. Please carry on. Yeah. But at the same time...
He stood down.
He stood down, very credible, and
So their objective was won at the end of the day. So they thought, let this person go through.
Yeah, my deep respect for that, and I think we can all learn from these kind of instances. Up and down the country, we have Labour Party, we have Conservative Party, that we've been voting them for decades. Not me, but some of the people, they've been voting for decades. Okay. What have you achieved? You've achieved nothing. So my approach is we need to go independent. We need to find good, credible, independent candidates that can go and win elections. That have good teams.
So my question was, what is your view about Ajmal Masroor? Very quickly, because we're coming to the end of the show. And I'll
in terms of the numbers, he came very close. I think it was less than 1,600 votes. And if we really break it down, every family has 2 adults. If they got, kids which are older, it's literally 600 families.
Actually, Rashid Ahmed, you tell us a little scenario about what could have happened if others voted for him, like, for example, Rabina Khan's voters and some other voters. First of all, tell me, what do you think about what happened in Stepney, which was a very important constituency. We all had our eyes on that, because Rushnara Ali, she was and still is the MP for that. So tell me from your view.
There's two ways of looking at it. One, it's a tragedy that, as they say in it, voting Labour is voting for a genocide. So this was the slogan in the community. So it's a tragedy that Labour, or rather New Labour, is still there.
We know Labour was going to go through, right? I mean, you can't really go otherwise. I mean,
it's a machine, isn't it? Like Nasir Bhai said, yeah, it's a machine. They've been there for decades. Unfortunately, we don't learn from our mistakes, yeah. And even though we suffer from some level of historical amnesia, we forget what happened yesterday. So that's a tragedy, right? So in terms of like how you can measure it in two ways. One, it's a tragedy because we still got to now deal with this woman, yeah, who hasn't been seen for 5 years, and I don't think she really serves the interests of our community. That's me saying that, and I'm sure many would agree with me on that.
Your views as well, yes.
100. So now going back to the other flip side of it, it was a tremendous outcome because it shows that if us as a collective can come in unison, then we can hit the pockets of those who are criminals in essence, yeah? Because remember, New Labour's leader was Tony Blair. He's still out and about, bouncing about in the streets here, getting rich here, while that party is still here, right? It's still benefiting of us. So now Ushnara Ali is going to earn 100k for what? For being absent, not for serving the interests of the community. Whose interests does she serve? She's from our community. I'm talking about ethnicity, and as ethnic minority ethnics, we suffer particular problems. Right? So now moving forward, hats off to Abdul Masood Bhai. Yeah, he wasn't someone that I chose in all. If I was to be transparent about it, but when it comes to the interests of the community, my ego goes out the window. Right? We came together and he had a tremendous outcome. So he took a huge amounts of votes. Unfortunately, we've got crybabies in the community. They wanted to split the votes, yeah? And that's a lesson that we've got to take because we're not looking at brands no more. We're looking at individuals who are going to serve our interests and make us stronger as a community.
Very sad that is. I mean, by the way, Rushan Ali is going to earn much more than 100k. That was probably a previous... just to let you know.
But you know, it was very close. It was very close in terms of the numbers. Sorry, if we've got a bit of time. In terms of the numbers, she won by 16,000 something. Ajmal Masood Bhai won by 15 something.
It's a big dent.
You know, it's a massive dent. Remember,
and it's a stepping stone for the next election, isn't it?
100%.
And they're not stopping here. So these
I guarantee you, not that I can guarantee anything. I guarantee if the election's tomorrow, she would lose. She would lose to Ajmal Masood Bhai, who would knock her out in the first round. You know, she would lose completely. Because what's going to happen? The people that voted for her, thinking, he ain't got a chance. What does he know? He doesn't even live in the borough and all that kind of stuff. They would all jump. There's loads of people just went with her for the sake of it. There are people who are still voting for her, despite what they see on TV. And, you know, it hasn't changed anything for their hearts. I mean, what is wrong with these people? What is in their heart? Is your heart...
Maybe it's a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge of what's happening. Actually, there are a lot of people... No, because look, I've got people in my area, they came, you know what, I voted for Rushan Ali, and I didn't have anything to say to them.
I would assume
do you understand?
They don't have a TV at home. And they don't
That's
carry.
lack of knowledge, right?
They don't carry. They're carrying a black and white phone here with like green screens and little pixels on it. That's the phone. It's like if you don't know what's going on in Palestine, yeah, then you've got issues, mate.
To be fair, what I mentioned earlier on, with I understand what you guys are saying. I'm all up for it as well. But there are people who are saying, look, we know that Labour is going to go through. Why not vote one of our own? Rushan Ali, it doesn't matter, you know, what she is, but I can see this face that you're making there. She's a Bengali. She's gonna be, you know, a member of the parliament. It's something. Is it something for us to be proud of?
Well, I'm a Muslim.
This is look. I'm playing the devil advocate here, right? What I'm saying is, I understand where you're coming from, but there are people who are saying 100%. that so, and we gotta, in some respects, we have to respect and understand their views. But like I said before, I said before, is the lack of knowledge and the lack of connection. You know, I've had people who come up to me and say, you know what, they're local issues. What's going to happen in Palestine doesn't make a difference what's happening in my life. This is lack of knowledge. So I say, well, where does your allegiance lie? Do you understand? Okay, but look, it's very interesting. On a last note, which is quite interesting. I want to know your views with Reform UK, right? It's something completely different. You know, we got someone called Zia Yusuf. Okay, he is backing them. Is an entrepreneur, and he's giving them, you know, quite a lot of money, substantial amount of money. What's your views about that?
So Reform UK, in short, they're a racist party. They're like the old BNP. You can argue the new BNP under, well, the new BNP, I don't know who they are, but Nick Griffin, funny enough, he's changed his views, but that in itself, we don't have time to go into why.
We'll go to another
But
time.
in terms of Ziad, his story is that he's a millionaire. He's done some business. He sold it for about 30 odd million. In his own words, he gave less than $1 million, but a few $100,000 to Reform, and he became one of the highest donors, which in effect, if we look at the numbers, it's not very high.
Today. No, but this is what a.
But he speaks well, he presents himself well, and he obviously, you know, comes across as, you know, I support Reform because of British values, and one of the British values he talks about is that, you know, freedom of religion, which I agree in terms of, okay, freedom of religion, yeah, so you think they're going to promote Islam? Do you honestly think that Reform is going to promote Islam?
What's the word? It's like an oxymoron, two different.
Yeah. So
now from what you mentioned earlier on, they're a racist party. You just said they're racist.
Yeah, what he's suffering from, with all due to brother Zia. He's a Muslim, so brother. He's suffering from what we call is Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome is basically, you know, when a master enslaves the slave. Yeah. When a master enslaves the slave, and he treats them in a certain way, he looks out into the fields and he sees the other slaves being treated in an even more worse fashion than he is. So he thinks, oh, this guy ain't bad. At least I got a bed, at least I got a mattress. I eat once a day soup. Well, these lot, they eat once a week.
Not really worried about the rest of them.
No, what he's thinking he's got a better treatment. So he's suffering from this syndrome. He thinks, Britain has given me X, Y, and Z, so therefore I'm loyal to Britain. But I guarantee you, this very party he supported, some of these fascists, some of these racists, if they find him on a good night, they'll give him a good hiding.
They would, yeah? That's what you think. What about your views?
I don't really want to comment too much, other than like people need to read it up a little about.
Let us know for the viewers.
They just need to listen to a bit of Malcolm X, rahimahullah, and he talks about this very eloquently about there's two types of slaves. There's the house slave and there's the field slave. And when your slave master's house is on fire, right, the field slave makes a particular supplication, right? And the one in the basement, thinking that he's living in a very luxurious ensuite bedroom, far from it, is going to be making for a supplication for the one who's got him enslaved, yeah? So this is the way I would like to kind of present my view on this issue, yeah? So you're either going to be the one in the house, or you're going to be the one who's going to be upholding principles, being out in the slaves at a protest.
And who's that? Malcolm X?
Yeah, rahimahullah, yeah.
Malcolm X. Thank you very much for your views, guys. Well, you've heard it from, I think they're experts when it comes to, you know, local politics and especially the people they are backing and the knowledge that they hold. Stockholm Syndrome, I knew what that was. Just for the viewers, no, I've heard of that. But, you know, thank you for explaining that. And also the field mouse and the town mouse, is it? Field mouse and the house mouse. Yeah. Okay, but I'd just like to thank the brothers for coming on the show. We had a fantastic time. We can carry on talking, but unfortunately we do have to end it here. I hope you enjoyed the show, and until next time, Assalamu alaikum.